It's an absolutely bizarre day in the world of Magic the Gathering. Wizards of the Coast is talking about making a Taylor Swift secret lair, amongst other oddities. And on top of that, there are a lot of people who are very angry about the new scam on Magic the Gathering Arena.
Magic.
I am a wizard!
History.
I'm an old wizard!
The Magic Historian.
My bones hurt. Greetings! Owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for some magical insanity. Never in my life did I think I would be saying the phrase Taylor Swift secret lair, but here we are. In fact, speaking of secret lairs, Wizards of the Coast has just announced a couple of new ones that actually look pretty good. So we're going to take a look at the cards from those. We have some special Gen Con promos to discuss as well. But first, we've got to talk about the arena scam and this Taylor Swift secret lair nonsense. So at this point, it's all just words. They haven't officially announced a Taylor Swift secret lair, but Mark Rosewater is literally asking people if they would like a Taylor Swift secret lair or a Grey's Anatomy secret lair. We have moved into the most insane timeline where Wizards of the Coast will literally make anything in an attempt to get people to buy it. So at one point in time, I would have completely ruled this out as a possibility, but they're literally polling their customers saying, hey, is this something you would like? And the sad truth is, a Taylor Swift secret lair probably would sell to a bunch of different people. A Grey's Anatomy secret lair, I don't know. I've never really watched that show. If I'm remembering correctly, it's a series that ran for like 10 seasons or something like that. It's like a medical drama, but it wasn't really too concerned with being accurate medically. It was more just like interpersonal drama. How do you make a secret lair based on an old TV show that's not even relevant anymore? The Taylor Swift thing I get because she is huge right now, and you can have all kinds of fun goofy songs because now we got bad cards, you know what I mean? Like that all ties together in a way that just makes me shake my head. Magic the Gathering has jumped like 80 sharks all glued together is what it feels like now. I remember when the Walking Dead secret lair came out and people were unhappy about how much that diverged from Magic, but now the horses are out of the barn and we're living in Insane Town. Speaking of Insane Town, let's talk about the Magic the Gathering Arena mega scam that is the Frog's Hidden Hideaway. If you haven't heard about this and you don't know much about Arena, basically all you need to know is on Arena they have something called the Mastery Pass that they do for every single set. And there's two levels of it. There's the free level and the you gotta pay to get in level. So on the free level, they give you a booster pack like every second or third day, basically. Right? And then the paid version has prizes like every single day. Woo, you got something. Woo, you got something, right? Now they can vary in whether they're worth getting, but the reality is you have rewards that you don't pay for and you have rewards that you do pay for. Now, the Frogs, what is it? Frog's Horizon Hideaway, something like that. I don't remember the exact name because it might have Psychic in there as well. It's an unwieldy title, but this is something that's supposed to be a Mastery Pass adjacent kind of item. But the problem is there's no free level to it. You only pay to get in, and you actually pay more than you would for a regular Mastery Pass, and the rewards you get are greatly diminished to an insane degree and somewhat entirely random. Like, they have different avatars. A lot of the Mastery Pass stuff is just cosmetics. Here's your Nicol Bolas avatar. Here is a little whoopity goopity goo for your cards where they go like this. I have to admit, that doesn't do anything for me. But in this one, they have the different, oh, do you want to be Ugin? Cool, here's Ugin. Do you want to be Ulamog? he costs more. You have to pay more tickets to get him. So they've introduced a brand new currency into the game called these Horizon tickets. But the problem is they're useless to you unless you buy into the Frog Hideaway. You literally have to spend money. So it will give you these rewards for every win. It will give you these rewards for finishing daily quests, but they're absolutely useless to you if you don't buy in. And at the end of every single match, it will try and take you to the buy-in screen. So every time you finish a game and win, they'll be like, here you go, you got some tickets. Go look at the thing that you can't spend these tickets on. It's making people very, very angry, and understandably so. It's really just trying to manipulate you into buying this pass that is a huge ripoff. The other pass costs 3,400 gems, but you can earn back 1,200 gems, so it's 2,400 gems. This one costs 2,800 gems, has no gem rewards. You can only get 8 booster packs from it. With a regular mastery pass, you can get 20. The amount of rewards look like they've been reduced by anywhere from 60 to 70%. I plan to do a live stream tonight where I actually go over all the little parts of it and we look at just exactly how bad it is. You can see that it's a terrible deal from the surface, but I want to get down into the minutia and work the numbers because it's absolutely insane. Wizards of the Coast is on the full tilt insane train, but on the other hand, some of the secret layers, like I mentioned, that they've just announced are actually looking really cool and using some awesome old school artists. So let's go ahead and take a look at some secret layer action. All right, so the first secret layer that we're looking at today is called Prince of Darkness, but Prince is spelled Prints, as in cards that were printed, which is a fun concept. All the artwork has a dark vibe to it. So you've got Fecundity, 2 and 1 green for an enchantment that says, whenever a creature dies, that creature's controller may draw a card. Now, obviously, I love the idea of drawing cards whenever I lose a creature, but for me, I'm not a huge fan of these symmetrical style effects, right? Like, if my opponent's running a bunch of creatures and they get destroyed, then they're going to get to draw cards off of it. But you can set up your deck in a way to take advantage of that. Either punish them for drawing, or if you have things that care about the size of your opponent's hand, you use and discard, or if you're playing against decks that aren't very creature heavy, then this can benefit you way more than your opponent, right? So there are definitely ways to take advantage of symmetrical effects. And this is actually on the closer to usable end of symmetrical effects as far as I'm concerned. So I like Fecundity as a card, but I'd much prefer to have a version that only lets me draw when one of my creatures goes. The artwork is fun. You've got a skull there laying on the ground. You've got all this nature overgrowing it, which kind of gives you the idea of, okay, when I lose a creature, I'm either gaining nature or another life form, right? You can see there's a set of eyes in the skull. I'm gonna come creeping out. So pretty straightforward concept that works quite well. After that, we've got Moldervine Reclamation. This one is a little bit weird with the way that enchantment is behind the text that says, whenever a creature you control dies, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So this is more up my alley, right? Because it only gives me the benefit, but you can see as well that the casting cost is a lot more. It's a green, a black, and 3. So you have to add a black and 1 on to get that card draw. You also do gain a life as well. The life gain to me isn't nearly as powerful as card draw, right? Because having more resources makes a much bigger difference. And this is very similar to the previous artwork that we saw. But in this case, you can see the vines are everywhere and they're kind of claiming the skulls and dragging them back down into the earth. This doesn't have any other forms of life being rebirthed from it, so it doesn't give the exact same vibe as Fecundity, but it does make these two cards feel almost like siblings, right? Like they're related. Not every card in this drop is a when your creature goes, draw a card style. It just so happens that the first two have an incredibly similar vibe, which ties them together quite well thematically. Then we've got Dictate of Erebos. So this is a awesome enchantment that's 2 black and 3. It has flash, so you can cast it at instant speed. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. The flash part of it feels like it's almost hidden back there. The thing that struck me the most is the face on Erebos's hand. He's like, I'm his right hand. You don't know what he makes me do at night. Please help me. I've seen horrible things. Actually, I guess I've just seen one horrible thing many times. This is a super strong card. I do actually like the vibe of this artwork, right? Like Erebos really does feel like the Lord of the Dead there. His like lifeless eye sockets, the kind of emaciated vibe that he has. At first, I thought he was holding a little skull scepter. It took me a while to realize that the little like strand that's coming out is actually his whip. So this is a very, very solid card that people are a big fan of, right? When it comes to the previous two, they are uncommons that aren't really going to knock your socks off overall, but this one is a busting down the door. People will definitely want a card, and I vibe on the artwork as well. Moving on, we've got Prosh, Sky Raider of Care. So this is a green, a red, and a black. Look at how funky the fire mana symbol looks, the red mana, right? So it costs 6 in total, 3 along with the 3 colored mana. It's a legendary dragon that has flying. When you cast this spell, create X01 red kobold creature tokens named Kobold of Carekeep, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast it. Now, if you are an old school Magic player like me, you know how cool kobolds are. This stuff came out in Legends, right? It was the 3rd expansion for Magic, and all of a sudden it was like, whoa, wait a minute, I can put out these creatures for 0, but they count as red creatures? Because before that, the only 0-cost creature the game had at all was Ornithopter, and that was an artifact creature. So these were the first creatures in the game where their color wasn't dictated by their casting cost. They were red creatures, they were 0/1 cowards, and there were other creature types that would boost up their power or give them trample and first strike. So kobolds have always captured my imagination. I really wanted to make a kobold deck back in the day, but unfortunately, the stuff was really, really hard to come by because Legends was ultra scarce. But regardless, the point is that he makes a whole bunch of kobold tokens. When you cast him, you end up getting 6 tokens. On top of this being a 5/5 flyer, sack another creature, he gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So you can just feed a ton of your little donks into him to give him a big fat boost to swing for the end if you want, or you can sack them to other effects to get bonuses. And obviously, let's say you use Prosh as your commander, well, guess what? Now you can use Moldavine Reclamation and the Fecundity that we just saw to draw a bunch of cards and gain a bunch of life. So that does tie together quite nicely. It took me a little bit to notice where Prosh's head was. At first, the artwork made me think it was like some cat, and then I went, oh wait, no, there's his head down there, and he's breathing fire up into the power and toughness. So this is a very cool piece of artwork, and I love the fact that his name is shown all flaming down at the bottom, because most of the time when it comes to Magic cards, name up at the top, right? And as well, this one is pretty clear to read overall. Some of the cards get pretty muddy in terms of trying to figure out exactly what they're saying, but this one keeps it clear, and people love Prosh, right? I have one in my cube. After that, we've got Mayhem Devil. So this is a red, a black, and 1. It is a 3/3 devil. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, Mayhem Devil deals 1 damage to any target. Didn't we already recently see him in another secret lair? I feel like we saw him. Yeah, maybe I'm getting it confused because I've seen like a billion secret lairs as of late, but I feel like this is not the first secret lair treatment that we're being given. This is the first secret lair where he's sitting resting his junk on the flavor on the rules text, right? So there is that. I love how goofy he looks. He's hanging on to the M like it's holding him up, and he's just lobbing fireballs like blah 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 blah. What are you gonna do, punk? And the fact that the power and toughness is in the 3/3, it is It is weird in a way that the first two that we saw have that nature combo, and then the next two have this fire combo. So I don't know if these were all originally intended to be part of the same secret lair, but I feel like they were. This devil has clearly caused a ton of mayhem, as it looks like everything is on fire around him. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Then we move on to the Julie Bell secret lair. So Julie Bell, Boris Vallejo are responsible for really old school artwork from like a long time ago. High fantasy awesomeness that shows men and women in powerful depictions where they're very aspirational. And actually, I have packs of this old game called Hyborian Gates. All the artwork is done by Boris Vallejo and Julie Bell. So this is actually a really cool choice on Wizards of the Coast's part. So first off, you get Coat of Arms, which is a 5 casting cost artifact that people have loved for many years because it says each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least one creature type with it. So basically, this is a massive tribal boost. Playing a bunch of elves, well, guess what? Got out 5 elves, they all get +5/+5. Actually, if you were to combine this with the last secret lair, the 6 kobold tokens that Prosh makes, guess what? Those are all kobolds. Now all of a sudden there's 6 7s and times have changed, right? Flavor Text says, is that your coat of arms? Looks more like a shawl of branches to me. And that's a quote from Andreas the Imprudent, last words. Yeah, well, I mean, you want to be talking smack to these people, they're going to beat you down. It is a little bit weird that it is draped over the tree. And the people in the artwork, they really don't look particularly threatening, right? But apparently, somehow, this mystical cloth imbues them all with strength. And considering there's 4 of them on there, even if they're just 1/1 humans, with the coat of arms bonus, they're all going to be 5/5s. So you can see why Andreas ended up dead. And this definitely does have a fun mystic vibe where it's like, okay, they've just got this draped over the tree in the forest, and it grants them insane power. Not too shabby. A great include for a secret lair. Then we've got Good Fortune Unicorn. A green, a white, and 1 for a 2/2. Whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. To glimpse a unicorn is a boon. To befriend one is a blessing. So I guess this is straight up the unicorn is your friend. This unicorn has seen some very troubling things. Look at the eyes. It's like, whoa, okay, you've seen some unfortunateness. And also, the mane looks a little frayed. Like this feels like somewhat of a frantic or tortured unicorn. I don't know, the background, everything about it just says to me, this doesn't feel like a Good Fortune unicorn. This feels like bad times unicorn. Getting to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature coming out is just okay in today's world, I feel. Wizards has really pushed the power level to the point where you look at this and go, yeah, it's all right, but it's not knocking my socks off. And I think this was originally an uncommon, if I'm not mistaken. Moving on, we've got Soul Warden. 1 white for a 1/1 that says whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. You'll notice it just says whenever another creature enters now, and that just means the battlefield or play. That doesn't mean the graveyard. That doesn't mean your hand. Any of that. This is the new wording that we're going to see going forwards. We knew it was coming with Bloomborough, but this brings it in a little bit earlier, right? And Wizards is doing this because, like I said, they've amped the power level up, so they're putting more words on cards now. The flavor text says, she's sworn to the wayward spirits just as they are sworn to her. And she's leaning back in communion with multiple souls. Soul Warden originally came out back in the Exodus days. And I really like the idea of a cleric that's dedicated to souls specifically, because a lot of clerics are about healing the physical body, right? So it communes with the souls and it gives you life. Not too shabby. After that, we've got Shivan Dragon. Now we're moving into shabby territory. 2 red and 4 for a 5/5 flyer. Pay 1 red, Shivan Dragon gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Now, if you're newer to Magic, you can be forgiven for going 6 mana for this? I've seen 4 manas that come with fire breathing, and there are 4/4 with other abilities. Magic really has moved on from its earliest days, and Wizards of the Coast genuinely needs to stop putting Shivan Dragons in anything. This isn't even the first time we've gotten a Shivan Dragon Secret Lair treatment. There's been at least 3 different ones. There was the one in the Christmas box, there was the one they gave out as individual ones to celebrate Magic 30, and then there's this one. And there may be more that I'm missing. And they're useless unless you play Garth One-Eye. Like, back in the day, at the beginning of Magic, Shivan Dragon was a house. This thing had true trade value. It was a genuine problem when it hit the board. It was very, very hard to answer and deal with this card, and it would just run away with games because people play mana flares and stuff like that and just fire breathing your head off. So from that level, it was cool. Now it's completely nothing burger, right? The artwork does look awesome. I like the crazy colorful feathers on the dragon. The fact that it's got this almost crown of feathers on its head is cool. The flavor text says, if you feel the mountains of Shiv rumble, pray the volcanoes are awakening and not the dragon. So flavor-wise, very cool, right? But actual desirability-wise, full thumbs down. Wizards absolutely needs to stop putting these in. Then we've got Elves of the Deep Shadow. This is the complete opposite. This is the best card, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the way it looks, the whole concept in this Secret Lair. Actually, out of everything we're going to look at today. 1 green for Elves of the Deep Shadow. These guys came out in the dark. It was a really cool concept because before that we had Llanowar Elves, which was 1 green for a 1/1, tapped into nature magic, so it tapped to give you a green. These guys tapped to give you a black, but they deal 1 damage to you. And the original artwork for Elves of the Deep Shadow is just a chick. It's just some guy's goth girlfriend that he painted for the artwork. So this is a massive step up from that artwork. This dude looks like, honestly, way bigger than a 1/1. Like, if this is Elves of the Deep Shadow, that's multiple elves. He's got a big fat halberd. He's got a vulture for a pet, which is a really cool concept because they're going with the black-green, like, we're the masters of the grave, right? The flavor text says, we always strive to maintain our decomposure, which is a fun play on maintain your composure, decomposing things, right? So that is mega epic. This is so good. I really, really like it. And I like the fact that back when they made this card, they go, it gives you black mana, but by dabbling with the dark arcane forces, it damages you. These elves will draw your life force out in exchange for their help. Instead of tapping into the nature of forests, they're tapping into the nature of bogs, but also consuming your life in dark rituals. That is epic magic. Then we're moving into Gen Con stuff now. So this is a Gen Con participation promo, but you have to participate in either an event that costs $40 or more or buying a Secret Lair. So I don't know if you really want to consider it a participation promo, but they don't normally have things where they go buy a Secret Lair or play an event that costs $40. So participation promos, the best I've got. This is Lightning Ramen. So you have, I don't know, it kind of gives me like Cowboy Bebop Space Dandy kind of vibes. You've got this chick just chilling on this cloud. You've got lightning arcing all around, and you've got a bowl of ramen. Is this supposed to be like a lightning goddess or something like that? And she's feasting on ramen up above these crazy Shinto buildings. You can see there's some kind of little demon servant who's tilting the bowl of ramen. Eat up, fatty! Well, I guess she's not that fat. She's just got some thick legs, right? But this is Lightning Bolt, so it feels like they could have gone Textus with this. Lightning Bolt is pretty iconic. Pretty much everybody knows it does 3 damage, and this artwork feels like it would benefit more from not having a text box because she's right there in the middle of the artwork sitting on the cloud, and yeah, you can see through the text box, but I think it would be better if they had just gone the other route with it. Ultimately, an interesting card. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about this artwork. It's funky, but there are much more interesting lightning bolts that have been made in Secret Lairs and stuff like that. So they call this a Secret Lair card, but you get it by buying a Secret Lair or playing in an event. So the meaning of Secret Lair has become more and more diluted. Speaking of which, we have some more Secret Lair promos to talk about. These are Secret Lair play cards. So what happens is they're doing a secret layer challenge where you enter into an event and there is a participation level card. There is a top 32 get to go into the championship, so they get a championship level card. And then the winner of the championship gets one copy of one specific card that they don't make a ton of, right? So Spell Pierce, the card you're looking at right here with this bizarre looking merfolk, I have no idea what is going on with this artwork. It's someone wearing a big goofy dress and it's like a celestial merfolk with insane face paint or made up out of the universe. I do not know. Gemstone embedded in the forehead, rainbows coming off the face, is crying. Are they like, what is going on in this artwork? I mean, Secret Lair is pretty wonky. Spell Pierce is a solid card though. 1 blue, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2. You're trying to cast a spell? How quaint. So the counter spell is clearly the fire just blasting into... It's weird because it almost feels like there's a force bubble of like water around this merfolk's head, like she's a astronaut or something, like a underwater astronaut. And so the magic's hitting and smashing into that, but also just smashing into the weird like 50s era dress, like a 50s era secretary dress. This is just really odd artwork, but that's the participation promo. The top 32 champion, like the top 32 go into the championship, get a Murktide Regent with the Jazz Hands, right? So we've seen this one before. Jazz Hands Murktide Regent, 7 mana, 3/3 Delve flying. When it enters the battlefield, a +1/+1 counter for each instant and sorcery that you've exiled with it. And whenever an instant or sorcery leaves your graveyard, put a +1/+1 on it. So obviously the ideal is to remove like 5 cards from your graveyard, instants or sorceries when you cast it, and have it come out as a big fat 8/8 flying beefy boy for 2 mana, which is pretty cool. And the artwork honestly is great. And then the championship card is the Dark Ritual. 1 black instant, add 3 black mana, I will bleat you dry. And you've got a, I presume, a shaman who is floating above a river of blood and has a skull that, and 2 skulls that are basically barfing blood into each other? Or is the blood coming from above and, oh yeah, that's what's going on. The blood is coming from the skull above and it's splitting out magically and pouring into 2 skulls that are floating above her hands while the blood rains down into 2 spiked chalices that are on these little plinths that have eyes on them as well. That's an amazing concept. You get enough blood in the chalices, the eyes flare to life, and then you get that dark magic. Like, think about how much blood you would need to do this, and obviously you need magic to make sure it does not coagulate as well. Either way, very, very funky card. So that is just one. There's only one of those being given to the champions. So these are the ones that are probably going to have insane price tags. We've seen that when they did this with like Ragavans and stuff like that in the past, that they had absurdly high price tags. So this will be a chase, play in the challenge, get the card style setup. I don't know. I mean, it's Dark Ritual. There's a ton more printings of it. So I don't know if it'll reach Ragavan's level of value. I don't know exactly how much making it unique versus the power level and usability level of it dictates prices for this, right? So we'll have to see how it turns out. But that wraps up all the cards we have to look up and the video overall. So other than that, just let you know again, gonna do a live stream tonight where I break down the scammy psychic frog nonsense that's going on Arena. We'll look it over bit by bit and go from there. I'll give you my overall breakdown of just how bad it is. A big thank you to my patrons for supporting my channel. You guys rule, and I will see you all, my friends, in the next video.